If you have to figure out a way to fire people, what other way would you actually use to do that?
To me, it sounds like they're kind of breeding a cutthroat environment. I'm a competitive as well. I play competitive sports my entire life, so it's like I understand that, that you have to compete.
I mean, there's only so much money,
right.
So at the end of the day, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, you're always competing.
I feel like there's certain levels to it, right? So depending on what position you are in your job, I don't feel like it's creating an environment for you to kind of grow, right? You brought these employees on.
Yep. You got the job done,
and now you cutting them.
It's business. What's going on, Tech Team? This is Just My Tech Sense, and I am Will Does Tech, and I am joined by my co-host,
Johnnie Tech,
and we are, as I said before, Just My Tech Sense, where we talk tech and finance and a little bit of lifestyle.
There we go.
So today, we're going to be reviewing stack ranking. So there was a video that was done by CNBC that talks about stack ranking, and pretty much what it is jobs will look at their employees and rank them against one another, either for promotion purposes or for firing purposes. So Depending on where you actually rank within the list will determine whether or not you get promoted or whether or not you get fired. So, whether you think that's fair or not, we'll watch and see what CNBC has to say, and then we'll go ahead and give our tech sense on what they talk about.
I want to hear this full story. Let's get into it.
Of stack ranking for employees. Now making a comeback in Silicon Valley, Kate Rooney has the latest for today's Tech Check segment. So what do you hear, Kate?
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, so we're hearing what's old is new again in Silicon Valley. Stack ranking, it's back in full force as some of these tech companies continue to rein in costs during what's been multiple years now of efficiency. They've largely done this through layoffs. So stack ranking, it's sometimes called rank and yank. It's the practice of ranking your workforce pretty much on a bell curve and then cutting the bottom percentage of performers.
So I don't know if I disagree with that. I mean, if you have to figure out a way to fire people, what other way would you actually use to do that? I think so long as it's like based on like merit, how else would you measure who should go and who shouldn't? Do you believe in like if you're last in, first out, or first in, last out?
I definitely think I'd rather it be based on merit. I think it definitely should be based on merits. So from what they're saying so far, it doesn't sound so bad. It sounds like they're thinking of a method that they want to use.
Yeah.
But I want to know why they have the method in place. Like for what reason?
Yeah.
Shopify, with the latest spin on it, the information reporting Shopify has a new system where employees compete for raises. They've got something called a mastery level, giving employees a numerical rating, and then only those whose scores increase in a certain review period are then eligible for raises. That's according to the... Now,
do you think that's fair? Right, so it says employees compete for raises with mastery score that measures expertise level. I mean, I think there's only so much money. Right. So at the end of the day, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, you're always competing. Right. It doesn't, whether you're trying to get the job, right, and everything that you do in life is pretty much a competition. Now, some things it's more, me versus me, but at the end of the day, when other people are involved, it's a competition between you and them.
Right. I hear what they're saying, but to me, it sounds like they're kind of breeding a cutthroat environment, right? And I don't think that tech was necessarily built on that premise, right?
Yeah.
I feel like it was built on this, everyone coming together, kind of brainstorming, creating. We have a project, we're disruptors, we're coming in and we're kind of making things happen as a collective, right? So, but then if you're kind of like, if you knowing you're being rated and you're, I'm at a mastery level and this guy's not, and so I may not pass that information on because I want to verify that I'm at this level and I can get promoted. And it's not even about being promoted in a sense. It's mainly making sure you don't get cut, so that's a big thing, especially with how much cuts are going on in these days.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you as far as that breeding, people being cutthroat towards one another. You would hope that it wouldn't breed that necessarily. Mm-hmm. More so, hey, push yourself, right? Like, worry about yourself, do better, right? Learn more, but really be about self-development and raise yourself a notch, right? Versus trying to knock somebody down, right? So I think that's where the insecurity that some people may have will, again, breed them and make them do things that are just, cutthroat. But I think, again, if you really...
Man, when that money's on the line...
I got it. No, I got it.
That's
I understand.
thing, right?
I mean, I get it. It's human nature. At the same time, I just feel like the system itself shouldn't breed that. I think people within the system make that happen.
Right.
Well, let's see what else they got to say.
Yeah.
Report Shopify cut 20% of its workforce on top of an initial 10%. And then other big tech companies have gone through similar layoffs. They're notorious for similar types of internal ranking systems. Meta, for instance, recently raised the bar for its employee ratings. And then Google is getting pickier about who it labels.
But again, what else are they to do? At the end of the day, if they're losing money and they can't afford to pay people, how else? I mean, they do this in the government. They do it in the military. Maybe not on the GS side, but they definitely do it on the officer side of the house when it comes to the military.
Right.
You can only rank certain people 50% and below at the top. Right. So when it comes to promotion time, if you don't have enough top blocks, what they call it, most qualified blocks, then you're at risk of being cut. That's even in the military. So
I hear it, and I understand. Like, I'm a competitive as well. I play competitive sports my entire life, so it's like I understand that, that you have to compete, but it's like I feel like there's certain levels to it, right? So depending on what position you are in your job, I don't feel like it's creating an environment for you to kind of grow, right? You're competing, but it's like, are you going to get the help that you need, or you got to come in? You know what I'm saying? Like
the help that you need,
right? You need listen. They might listen. You got to when you start a job. You got to get caught up to speed. There's usually a learning curve, right?
Yeah. There's an onboarding process. There's an onboarding process.
How many times have you heard a quarterback? I think, don't quote me, but I think it might have been Matthew Stafford or somebody like that. And a rookie was coming in. He was like, "It's not my job to teach him, right?" But that's what is expected from vets, right? But he's like, "This dude's coming to take my job." So
absolutely.
As a team, the team's not getting better if he doesn't help this guy that's coming up,
right?
But sports is a cutthroat thing, and it happens.
They have quarterback coaches.
Yeah.
What's their job? What's their job? Because if you're Matthew Stafford or whoever, right, your sole focus is you and getting better in yourself, which is what I was talking about. Get better, right? And there's other ways to do it outside of, hey, can you help me? Hey, Johnny, can you help me out? It's like, sure, a little bit. Here you go. Here's a crumb.
and that's what you're gonna get. And let me just clarify. I can't remember if it was Matthew Stafford. I don't want to like just ruin his name. Like he might be the best teammate out there. So, but it's one of those guys. But
yeah.
I think
we'll go ahead and we'll move on.
As a top performer, while Amazon is reportedly not giving raises to anyone at the L6 level or higher, which is mostly management, saying that the stock has risen so much that their compensation has increased because of it. The return of...
management, if they're pretty much capped out, then, why not take care of those who are not capped out?
I hear it, but I think she mentioned stocks. When you start talking about stocks, they care. They're the people that's in management. They probably just want the company to do well anyway because they want the stock to do well. They could probably make more money off stock than their salary anyway.
Yeah, right.
So
it makes sense.
I think that's mumbo jumbo talk right there.
It makes sense to me.
This more cutthroat ranking system signals a shift right now in tech company culture. So during the pandemic, they overhired. They were fiercely competing for talent. There was a sense that some tech workers got a bit complacent. You remember quiet quitting. And then came the end of zero.
Quiet quitting.
Okay.
How's that going?
But they're fiercely looking for talent.
They were.
Right.
They were.
Why?
Whatever the mission was.
You brought these employees on.
Yep. You got the job done.
And now you're cutting them.
It's business. It's capitalism.
My biggest thing, I just love transparency. Bring him in as a contractor.
It's already transparent. You live in a capitalistic system. You know that's how things go. You don't need somebody to say, Johnny, we're making cuts tomorrow.
I'm calling everybody out, right? Because that's not what Google said. Google said, man, we got you. You can come in. We got a nap room. We're all about work-life balance. Yeah, that's what they said. So I'm basing on what you said.
Yeah, but they also adapt to the times. right? And right now they're like, yeah, you could take a nap back in 2020 because we needed you.
Right.
Now we appreciate the work that you've done, but we don't need you anymore. And that nap room, sure, go and take that. But as far as you ranking in the stack, how many naps you take today? You took 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna move you down from an 8 to a 9.
I kind of look at it as like they're almost pulling the rug under their employees' feet, right? You know, they're bringing them on. They're saying like they're telling you what the company's doing, how we're growing.
Yeah.
And most people coming in with the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to be a part of this great thing. And then you are a part of it.
Yeah.
Until it's complete.
Trust no company. Trust no company.
Right.
Trust no company. Right. I mean, at the end of the day, like that's what it is. Take care of yourself. Trust no company. Right. They can say all the things they want to say to make you feel good. They can give you a honey pot, you know, where you're sitting there, you know, sleeping, napping, and they're looking at you saying, all right, this is easy for us. You're making it so easy to.
Right. They need to call it honey pot.
Right. It's a trap.
Honey pot break room.
Right.
They definitely.
Right.
Yeah, that's
right.
a good idea.
The massage chairs and. Right.
I love this company. They're
right.
like, okay, all those guys, you remember the guys? They're all fire.
Right.
And I think that's what they're doing. But
don't go into that break room.
Right. It's a scare tactic.
Right.
Like, but this whole system, like to me, I feel like I understand why they're doing it in the bottom line, and they need to make their money. But at the same time, I'm like I said, that is not the premise of what I feel like the tech industry was built on. It was built on like collaboration and all those things, right?
But you can't do that remotely, right?
I'm an advocate for remote work. I'm gonna always say that. So.
But it's so much harder to collaborate remotely.
It definitely is.
Right.
So that's
you can all get on teams. Not everybody's listening, right? Not everybody's contributing.
I can give you that one. That's different. So if I'm advocating for remote work, I'll probably change my stance a little bit. But for this particular one, it's like, you know, I can understand it, but at the same time, it's like, why bring on so many people knowing that you're gonna have to let them go? Like, okay, during this, we need to show revenue at this time of year. So this time of year, when this is where we're letting people go, and then you're gonna ramp back up. Yeah, because it's not like they're just letting people go, and then there's always a time where people are getting let go, and then there's always a ramp up period, right? So is it just like, okay, we got to cut the fat to get better people in, or is it we needed a job done, we got it complete. Now it's a slow time. Yeah. So
and that earnings report, right? That quarterly report's coming up, and we need to show that we're profitable.
Exactly.
Our numbers need to be good. So the quickest way to do that is to cut. I mean, it really is the quickest way to do it, right?
Right.
Is to cut. So they do that. Not that I'm not saying that it's fair. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying that's just the nature of the game, and we know that going in. And if somebody hasn't told you that, then you would hope, right, that based on the education that you got, you would see this is the game.
Right. But I mean, I know I feel like that I'm thinking of the old school mindset when you used to be able to go to a company and just work there for a number of years and you build and grow and grow. But now it's, I mean,
that ain't
with this
no more.
With this type of environment, you kind of be you know, it wouldn't make sense for you to do that these days.
Right.
It's like as soon as you get a better offer.
What did Chris Brown say about loyalty?
He said something about it.
Right. They ain't loyal. So he tried to tell you.
Right. So it's like you gotta move accordingly, right? So
absolutely.
I think when seeing reports like that as as someone who is, in the workforce now and in the tech industry, I'm looking at this like, okay, well, I always have to be looking at the next best thing as well.
You stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
100%. I agree with that.
So
interest rates, that really changed the hiring landscape dramatically. Companies started laying off thousands of workers. You can see that in the chart there, really peaking the beginning of last year. Tech companies now need to prove that they are being efficient. They have been rewarded on Wall Street for some of the cost discipline that's come largely through layoffs. It's really what the street wants to see right now, is that efficiency. While tech companies have this new wrapper on it, this type of merit-based competitive job cutting has been around since at least the 80s. Jack Welch, famous for bringing it to GE.
I think she's referring to Wall Street. Right, not the streets, but Wall Street.
Eventually scrapped it around 2015, and there has been some research that's found it's not the most effective technique. Tech, it might be the most explicit right now about this type of systematic pruning of the workforce, even though they don't always call it stack ranking. It is alive and well in other sectors, guys. Take banking, for example. Goldman bankers and traders, they still compete fiercely for bonuses. The bottom performers there get cut as well.
You're a CIO in 2024.
In those, that's a different industry where most of their things is based on is sales based, right? So when you're working in tech, the merits are a little different, right? It's not because you're not really bringing in revenue.
It depends.
You're doing
depends on the company.
Yeah.
Depending, right? But most times, if you're Google, you're bringing in revenue.
Yeah, if you're a security engineer at Google, you're probably not bringing in revenue. You're just doing a job that needs to get done, right?
For the product in order to bring in revenue.
Right. So, but how do you measure that?
Come on, man. Like you know,
I'm just saying,
it doesn't have to be a hardened number, right? I mean, again, we'll have to talk about how you know as a manager who your contributors are. But you know when you know.
Nah, man. As an employee and I'm working, I'm like, hey, I need to know what you grade me on, right? I need to know.
Sure.
What's the expectations? So when I look at my performance score and you're like, yeah, you may be getting cut or you're not getting a raise, I'm like, why? I did this many things. I did this many tasks.
But what if everybody did that? Everybody should just stay?
Well, I don't know, man. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you don't have no money, then what? Everybody you just going to work and say, pay me later?
Oh, no, I'm definitely not doing that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you're the company and everybody is performing at a high level, let's say everybody's beating their,
then the company should be making money.
Not necessarily, right? Because I mean, the streets are the one that do the talking, right? They're the one that decide whether or not they're going to purchase Google or Apple or whatever product. So if nobody's purchasing those products because they don't need them, or due to inflation or whatever, they can't afford it for whatever reason, then
that sounds like a sales problem. So where their merits are based on what the revenue is bringing in. Like
that's a sales problem.
Me as an engineer or whatever I'm doing. Like,
but if nobody's buying your product that you're making as an engineer, then again it trickles down to you. So you want your sales team, hey, let's go. Root for them. Help them.
I'm like, hey, man,
you need me to make a call? You need me to make a call?
I'm like, listen, I did a great job. The product works exactly how you asked me to.
But nobody's buying it. So there's no money coming in.
Right.
So how do I pay you, Johnny? I'll pay you later when people actually do buy it. Is that okay?
Listen, man, I get what you say. I'm all right. I can see where you're going with this one, and I'll give you that one.
Yeah, I just don't. Again, like it sounds cruel, right? It really does sound cruel, and it. Again, when you talk about it and when you say it out loud, it sounds like that ain't right.
Right.
At the same time, you said you want that transparency, and I'm telling you, behind closed doors, that's what happens regardless. They may say it went away. Nah. It went away as far as publicly being known, but it's like, okay, we have Johnnie Tech, we have Will Does Tech, we have Bobby Ann, we have,
it's going
like,
names. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, all right, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And only the top 3 can prevail.
Right.
Hey, John A. Yo, Will, y'all in here. Y'all good. Bobby Ann, we got to see you later.
Right.
And we've all been performers, but we can't afford to pay you. So it is what it is. That said, this is just our tech sense on the video. We want to know what you think about stack ranking and whether or not you think it's the right thing to do. You think it's cruel and unusual. What's your thought on it? I think, again, like it's just one of those things that comes out of necessity sometimes. I know that if we really peel back the onion, right, then do we really need it? Because, some of these CEOs are making millions of dollars.
Right.
Right. So if we were talking about that, it'd be totally different because, again, there's money that can be taken and distributed.
Cut there, right?
Yeah, so I think that should probably be like the first thing, right? Before you say we're not making money, because there are individuals making 32 million, 20 million,
right.
And I mean, it is what it is.
It's definitely understandable, and kind of what I wanted to bring in is like, I want to ask people like, do you feel like the tech industry and what you've seen that the cutthroat environment that's kind of being bred is something that should be in tech? Yeah. That's my question.
Yeah, I don't think it's sustainable that way. That's why I don't think they talk about it, right? They had this kumbaya, we're a team, let's do this together. But behind closed doors, it's not kumbaya. So again, with the information that you have, how do you feel? So this is just our tech sense. We will talk to y'all in another video. See y'all later.